In the far off distant future, it's See For Yourself, the only podcast that can't say or do anything fun because it's already been trademarked and we don't want to get sued. Serving as your host for today, I'm More Trouble Than I'm Worth, and I'm joined today by
LD once again.
It's a long name, but so is mine.
Yep. I'll go by again, but yeah.
I'll take what I can get, it turns out. I have a movie for you today, LD, once again.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about it.
We're going to do this one as clinically as possible. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to give you the title of the film, and you just tell me what you think of the movie. I'm going to go ahead. I'll tell you right now, I have not seen this movie. I don't know anything about this movie.
Cool.
The name of the film, I'm going to butcher this, so please forgive me. The name of this film is Zeiram 2.
Oh, okay, cool. I've not actually officially seen this movie. I feel like I've seen a movie in the franchise, but I don't remember anything about it.
Well, let's go ahead and just make our predictions based on the title.
Sure.
Probably the hardest film in our entire history of films to do this with, because there's nothing to go off of here.
Well, just in the title, so Zeiram, it sounds not from around here, so I'm going to assume that it's a Japanese film, but that's mostly because I know it's from Japan. That's about all that I can guess. Zeiram, I don't know. It could be like rams, like the goat type creatures.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, Zeiram, maybe it's like Zion, so like they're trying to find their promised land that was like, promised to all the rams. So it's a herd of rams have escaped Egypt and they're on their way to Zeiram.
I think that we need more ram representation in film. We don't really get it a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
there was that character in The Wrestler. Was it Roddy the Ram? Ramy the Ram Piper? Something, I don't remember his name. Played by a good actor whose name I also can't remember. Jesus, The Wrestler was a great film.
I enjoyed it.
Who plays as the guy? It's like
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. Fuck me to death.
Yeah. Mickey Rourke's, yeah, I love him. He has such a gristly face. His face is like a freaking catcher's mitt, like.
Yeah, it's just very leathery.
Yeah, it's impossible to like not know the guy when you see him. It's like, oh yeah,
one of those iconic faces. I love him in The Wrestler because he's like one of those characters that's like a tough guy with a heart of gold.
Yeah,
and I think that's how I prefer him. I know he's played like a lot of like villains or monsters because of his like more gruff face, but I like him as like a heroic and noble character who just happens to look that way.
I loved him in the Sin City, and there's a few 80s films where he's barely recognizable. Dude was like a facially attractive person at some point in time. He just sort of like got old and leathery.
Still a beautiful man.
Sure.
I guess my prediction for this, when I heard Zeiram, I was like, this sounds like Hiram.
Oh, okay.
And I'm totally okay with this just being like, okay, so he's like a nerdy dude, right? Just a nerdy dude, and people are picking on him, and it's not cool, and he just hates it. But he has created an alter ego for himself. And I'm hoping for all of the eloquence in his alter ego of like Butters and Professor Chaos, you know what I mean?
I love Professor Chaos.
That kind of transformation,
Yeah. Little do they know, I'm really Zeiram, out of the closet with the homemade, costume on.
Yes.
Mom, I can't. No, I'm busy trying to destroy the world.
And his version of destroying the world is like solving people's math problems for them so they don't have the joy of learning. Like,
oh man,
I'm making future students stupider by doing their math homework.
Goodbye, STEM fields.
This will teach them when they have to do advanced algebra. They're going to be screwed.
There aren't enough Z movies. Like, I mean, I know not a lot of people are familiar with like going to like video stores, but even like scrolling through like Netflix or something, if you have it on alphabetical order, you almost never get to Z, You'll find something before you get there. Anyone who gets to Z, they really are very picky, or they're just trying to kill time. So if you got all the way down to Z for Zeiram at your local video store, you're probably a lot like me, and you just want to spend a lot of time at the video store and stay away from home,
I was spending time with a romantically inclined individual. I don't know what the fucking word for this is. I don't know. She's not my girlfriend or nothing. We were just making googly eyes at each other. What's the word for this?
Sure.
We had a situation situationship. We had a situationship, you know?
I call that a crush.
Sure. Something's going on here. And I get over to her place and we're just like hanging out. And she's like, do you want to watch something on the TV? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. She's like, yeah, I usually use, and she pulled up some streaming service. I didn't have this particular streaming service. So I'm just like a kid in a candy store. I'm just like poking through everything. I'm not really like, you know, picking any one thing. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. And she's like, do you want to watch it? And I'm like, to be perfectly frank with you, ma'am, I want to keep scrolling through all the bullshit on this fucking thing.
I want to see what else they have, and then maybe I'll come back, but I'll probably forget.
I'll definitely forget. My brain doesn't have the capacity for that. I have the capacity to be like, this is neat, and then I'm on to the next thing. I don't know. Shit, man. I'll do that at the worst possible times, too. Like, where I'll be like, all right, I'm writing this script. I'm trying to make this script work. Okay, cool. Wouldn't it be cool if we did a script where a bunch of people are eaten by a whale? And like... Why am I doing this right now? I have another project. Oh man. But so we have the title of the film figured out, you know. Hiram, the Professor Chaos character, and the biblical allegory, but put onto goats or rams or what have you.
And so this is just from my awareness of another Zeiram movie, but is it spelled Zeiram?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, this is what I'm thinking about. I've seen one of these movies. I know it's based on something else, maybe a manga, maybe a book, or maybe it's just a video game. I don't know, but
Sure.
it's kind of oldish.
The movie itself, Zeiram 2, was made in, according to the interwebs, it was made in 1994, and it's supposed to have an hour and 47-minute runtime.
Oh yes.
I'm going to go ahead and give you the poster for it so you can take a look at that.
Cool. Zeiram. Just imagining a ram like coming down from the mountain with 2 tablets. Zeiram.
Guys, I found these sweet-ass tablets.
What are you doing? What is that golden calf doing there? No, and instead of like, you know, like pushing it, he sends his ram horns into it and just try to topple it over.
So this is the poster.
Yep, very 90s cyber sci-fi up too late at 2 a.m. and you're seeing like if Japan had a sci-fi channel, that's what this would be airing on.
This poster kind of ruins both of our ideas.
I'm psyched. Like it looks watchable. Although posters are generally supposed to be like
a little cooler than the fact.
Yeah. It's like a politician's promise, you know. It's like, listen, things are gonna be really cool once you get there, man. Like your mind's gonna be blown, and then you're there. It's like this looks like today, dude. Like this doesn't look like anything new.
Guys, when I get elected, it's gonna be free beer and hookers as far as the eye can see. And like, oh, cool. And you get there, and they're like, actually, it's just taxes. It's just more taxes. Like, oh, not cool.
Sorry, guys. I just wanted the job. I'm not keeping any of my promises. I'm sorry. It's like, yeah, we knew.
I'd really like to be able to do this for a couple years and then be set for life and never have to worry about anything ever again. And people will just like me for no reason or hate me for no reason, but at least they'll be thinking of me.
Okay, well, there's seemingly like a guy with a helmet that maybe has ears on top of it, so that could still be a ram.
I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that, this is another thing we do on this podcast a lot. It looks like Batman. Does it not look kind of like Batman? Am I the only one?
It's going for like a Batman vibe, but I honestly thought more about Donnie Darko. You know, the creepy rabbit?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it looks like the creepy rabbit from Donnie Darko. Except with sort of like a Mandalorian eyes or something. A mask that's just like a slit, you know?
And I do like all the blues and then the red lettering kind of at the center sort of makes it pop out. I love this. I'm assuming this is a lady. Not sure, but it looks kind of like a lady's face, maybe. This character here to the left that's like in this like, it looks kind of like sci-fi, but like very toned down sort of body armor thing going on. I like it. It looks like a leather glove. That looks badass.
She's clearly a warrior in the fight of Zeiram 2. And then we've got like a few guys over to the right. There's one dude looks like he's got like maybe he's holding something over his shoulder, like maybe a katana. I'm guessing the dude with the face, that's probably just like cop who's there and doesn't know what's going on. He's like, oh man.
Bumbling idiot cop.
I can't handle all these like goat rams and like cyber bunnies. I can't. No. I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah, I like the guy in the far back there with like the traditional like weird hat thing going on. I don't know what that is.
Right, yeah, it's like what's her name from Power Rangers with the crazy
Rita Repulsa.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's always like a general or like a mad king that's just there to scream at his subordinates.
Did you ever see Big Trouble in Little China?
Yeah, yeah, I love Big Trouble.
The Chinese sorcerer that he has to
Hmm.
fight,
Yeah.
like his hat that he wears in a lot of his scenes.
Yeah, it's there to be the icons. It's like Spaceballs, like this is more ridiculous than could be believable.
Okay, well, we've eaten up enough time without the blurb. Let me just go ahead and give you the blurb, and that might
Sure.
actually sort of slap you in the face with some stuff you've already said. The blurb is as follows: An intergalactic bounty hunter squares off against a deadly alien that has taken over the body of her combat android.
So far this is in keeping with the first Zeiram film, which honestly, if you asked me what I saw, was mostly just Alien Bounty Hunter. That's all I could remember.
So I have no knowledge of the original Zeiram film. I am incredibly comfortable with just like jumping in on a franchise wherever.
For sure.
If you make a movie and you can't watch and enjoy it by itself, no matter where it is in the franchise, you stumbled somewhere. Like every film should be at least relatively self-contained.
They should be able to at least hold your hand for the first half hour and then like let you go. Like an adult teaching a child to ride a bicycle is like, okay, all right, you got this. You know what we're going for. Cool. You got questions. Big deal. And honestly, in the first Iran film, I still had questions. So it wasn't like they explained everything in part one. So
I had no clue that you had seen the first film. I genuinely picked this film in the hopes that it would be one of those like no one's ever fucking seen or heard of this thing. I can safely select this, and whoever is my recording partner will be like, "Oh yeah, dog, I ain't never heard of a Zyram. I like the Rams as a football team. Are they a football team? I don't know.
I don't even remember what Zeiram refers to. It might be the name of the alien they're hunting. It might be the bounty hunter themselves. It might be just the world in which this is taking place. I don't even remember.
Mm.
For the most part, it's like I wasn't even there. Japanese science fiction, I'm always down to watch any of that. It's a very niche section.
I'm gonna go ahead and start us off with some wacky predictions.
Okay, go for it.
I really, really want to see a situation where, let's say it's like the final scenes of the movie. She finally defeats this alien that's taken over her cyborg thing's body. And I would love for the alien to be entirely unimposing. You remember in Men in Black where the guy's like face comes open and there's like a little alien living in his head?
Oh, yeah. It's basically being controlled by a mouse.
Yeah, like that. I would like that scene specifically where they're like, oh no, an alien that we're supposed to be bounty hunting, and it's like supposed to be this big imposing force, and like they build it up over the course of the film, and they're like, well, we gotta get him out of the cyborg that helps me do my missions. Maybe it doesn't make it a joke, but maybe it's like an emotional realization that like this thing wasn't as threatening as we thought it would be.
Or maybe it's like just pure anger. It's like, I lost so many friends, like so many of my compatriots fell at your hands, and what, you're like the size of a quarter? No, no, screw this,
Yeah, it could be like an angry moment where she like grabs it and like strangles it in her hand and crushes it. Oh, that'd be cool. I also really, really want a chance for our female lead. Wow, how cool is it we get a female lead? I would like her to have some really cool, brutal moments where she really just fucking like wrings something's neck and, like just fucks shit up. She's a bounty hunter. She's a badass. She kills things for money.
Wild prediction, the Donnie Darko bunny in the background, that's like the cyborg thing is being
Controlled.
It's being controlled. Okay. So that's the thing they're hunting. He's got control of all the rams in Japan, and let's see, probably wields some type of ridiculously long sword. I don't know. Maybe he rides a motorcycle. He's basically Lancelot. He's out there just with like a lance, and he's just mowing people down like duel style.
Anytime we do sci-fi, we can kind of expect for there to be a degree of combining of different cultures to create like a new culture. This is very commonplace in films like Blade Runner is a very common one. They're in America, but it's all kind of Japanese now, Asian infused America, sort of.
The giant ladies advertising like care products in the middle of the night.
With things like that, I wonder if that'll be something in this movie where maybe they'll sort of take a more American influenced thing and be like, well, there's bounty hunters. Does that mean there's cowboys? And then maybe some of the characters are sort of cowboy influenced. That could be kind of cool. There could be a lot of different like Western influences on this otherwise very Japanese. The poster looks so anime. You know what I mean?
If I'm not wrong, I feel like there is an anime OVA somewhere in this franchise. I don't know if it's based off of the film or vice versa.
I think that's probably true. Looks like it. It's the kind of thing that animes like.
I like the background. It looks sort of like blue flames. Like at first I thought it might have been space, but this is more like there's flames coming from behind all this. That's where the blue's coming from.
I think that would be cool, like a mystical aspect to this, because we already have bounty hunters, aliens, robots. Why not have like a magical character who can summon blue flames? That'd be fun. Why not? Sounds anime to me. I would really like if this movie is less about like fighting a deadly cyborg and it's more about the trudgeries of like being an entrepreneur.
Someone's trying to like sustain like this business, a struggling business. Maybe the guy down the corner with like the distraught face. Maybe he's not a cop. Maybe he's got just like a restaurant, or maybe he's got like a clothing shop. And he's like, listen, I know you got to like hunt this thing, but can you not wreck my store while you're doing it? you know and somehow like the fight's always just outside his store or something.
That would be funny, like the cabbages guy in Avatar. My cabbages.
Yeah, what if Cabbage Guy was integral to the plot?
What if I was thinking maybe the name Zeiram? I don't know. You could get really tragic with this. Like maybe the main character's like grandfather died and his last words were Zeiram, so she named her bounty hunting business Zeiram after her grandfather's last words. But everybody's so confused about like what is a Zeiram? What does that do? I'm not going to hire your bounty hunting business because I don't understand what it. No, your entrepreneurial endeavor is dead on arrival because you picked a dumb name. Nobody knows like the backstory behind it or the reason why she picked that name and why it's significant to her. And the whole movie is her just like trying to make her business legitimate, even though people aren't on board with it because of its name that doesn't make sense to them.
Actually, now I'm thinking about it. When I was talking about like video store and like being stuck in there trying to like find movies and you get to the end at Zeiram, companies are always trying to get like AA, AAA at the beginning of their name to try and be at the beginning of the phone book. This is like the most pitiful business because they're at the end of the book. So like no one's going that far unless maybe you start your phone book at the very beginning and like, oh, Zeiram. In general, because it's the joke, no one's even heard this place because whenever they're shopping for, I don't know, a new pair of loafers, they don't get as far as the Z's in the shoe shop catalog.
It's why they named that one show Real Monsters instead of
Exactly. Real Monsters is too far down the list. You need the app.
What a good use of that, by the way. Like that's the one that I'll always forgive. I don't know. It's cool to put the sound effect. Like we know what that is. Someone screaming, right? But it also serves that double purpose,
I never thought about it that way. But yeah, they probably have beat out a lot of better cartoons by shooting to the top of the list with that name. Although I do love Arrow Monsters.
It's a good show.
Great
Yeah.
designs. I actually hope that there are some Arrow monsters in this one. Like you get like some weird looking monsters. Like just there's a guy that's like shaped like a noodle. Like walking around.
It's like a black and white noodle with like the big red lips and the eyes and everything.
Yes, someone holding their own eyes. Like
the red guy that's like shaped like a triangle, but also he's kind of fleshy.
Oh my God, yeah, just meat person. Sad. Mutated meat person.
That's a good point. A lot of these older Japanese films with an anime-esque premise will sort of have a lot of really cool effects in them and a lot of really cool designed characters and monsters and set pieces and all these different things. They really like, maybe more so than any other factor in the filmmaking, is we have to have cool effects and cool costumes and things like that. This is like one of the harder things to predict because whenever you see it, it's usually something you've never seen before. It's like holy hell.
It could be anything.
Yeah, they've just invented like this whole new thing, and it's just wild to see it, and it's doing stuff, and I don't know. It's cool. It's fucking cool. I want to see people just come up with random bullshit.
You know what? I kind of want to see a zebra. I feel like the letter Z and also Ram, if you just put them together, it's like, what if there's like a zebra with like horns and he just gallops on scene. He's got like a full voice actor like presence, like not comedy, not even there as like donkey to help Shrek. No, he's like integral to the plot. That's who this mask in the back is. That's Zeiram, the Han Solo behind Luke Skywalker in Zeiram.
I know this is a lot to ask of you, and it's kind of unprecedented. We've never really done this on the podcast, I don't think. But I like your character of like the alien zebra ram combination. That's also sort of of a sidekick helping out the Luke Skywalker character. I think that's super cool. And you said you wanted him to talk. Can you just give me a line from this character? I'll set the scene for you. Let me help you out. He's helping out our main lady, and he wants to let her know that there's some kind of danger. And so he says, "Look out." And can I get it one time where it's dangerous and one time where it's like fun?
Just saying the line, "Look out."
Look out as this character. You're the zebra ram plucky sidekick.
Look out.
That's a good one. Can we get the happier one where it's like not dangerous anymore, but they're just like playing in a field of butterflies and butterflies getting too close and he's like, "Look out," and it's fun.
Look out.
I think that's a great rendition of the character. The old "Oh, look out!" and then the "Oh, look out!" I think there's a lot of room here for fun and good voice acting opportunities for somebody to come along and do a much better job than us. But now you know how we would play the characters. Isn't that fun?
Yeah. So yes, Zeiram 2. I'm pumped. I'm ready to be wrong about everything.
I'm ready to be wrong about nothing, damn it. I've never been wrong a day in my life. I swear to God, I know that we have a lot of evidence to suggest that this will not happen. But I really feel like the Professor Chaos character, Hiram to Zeiram, might still be in the movie.
I mean, for all we know, that's Butters in there with a hat. I mean, like, that could be him. That could still be him.
I would also like for the movie to be entirely taken seriously, and then at the end, when she finally has the cyborg like dead to rights, the alien inside of it dead to rights, like she's got it pinned against a wall. He just like Scooby-Doo villain style takes his mask off and is like, "Just kidding, it's me, the guy who owned the soup restaurant from earlier."
Oh my God! I just wanted you to take your fighting away from my restaurant. God damn it!
I just wanted to make sure that you were committed to this business opportunity of being a freelance bounty hunter. And I tested you by hacking into this robot and fighting you with him, and then you had to chase me across town, and here I am. This was all a farce. It was all just supposed to be silly fun. And what fun we've had.
It's when your parents like give you like your first client, your first, "I'll buy your first hot dog at this stand." It's like, "Thanks, I appreciate it." No one else was showing up.
Yeah. That would be great. Dad, I don't want to work at the noodle store anymore. Did we just write Kung Fu Panda?
Oh, I mean, is that what happens in Kung Fu Panda? He's like, he creates like a villain for him to fight.
No, that would be so cool. But the opening of Kung Fu Panda is Jack Black's Po character is he doesn't want to work at the noodle shop that his dad
I remember that
set up for him to work at, and so he goes to become a kung fu master. And we're basically like, the guy who runs the noodle shop is like, "Oh, I'm cool with you being a bounty hunter and all, just don't fight people in front of my restaurant." And then later he's like, "I was your first customer, I'm helping you out, but also maybe see how easy it was to get away from the noodle shop for this fight? Just do that all the time."
Exactly. Stay out of the market.
Just come on. It's that. I understand the rent is lower out here, but that doesn't mean you have to fight people right outside your own business. That doesn't make any sense.
Please, sir. This is a Wendy's.
Okay. Well, it's coming up to be about that time. Do you have any last minute things you want to say other than that you're expecting this movie to be Kung Fu Panda?
You know what? I actually don't expect there to be any animals in this film at all. Even with the mask, really, I expect this to be straight across the board, sci-fi, cyberpunk, grungy, B-movie, but quality manga adaptation. Like they're doing their best, but probably like the producers are like, "All right, we need more fight scenes, less plot, more fight scenes, less plot," and probably like a thinly veiled romance.
I think that the thinly veiled romance is probably a safe bet, but I'm really hoping against it. And I think that this is the type of movie that can do it, that can get away with not having any romance aspect to it. Although, I wouldn't mind if there was some kind of an implied relationship between our lead actress and the robot specifically. Like the robot is an ambiguous character. We don't know just how human it is, like how far along technology is. Like, is it normal to be in love with a robot? ? But I would like to see that as like a plot point of like, I didn't realize how much he meant to me. And it's like ambiguous. She's not saying I'm in love with this robot, but it's like kind of there if you're like reading between the lines here. You know what I mean?
Okay. It's just more of like a rescue mission than it is even like a bounty hunting. It's like I'm trying to get him back. So
yeah. All right. Well, hey, we'll go ahead and call it here, and we'll go out and get to the movie. And an audience, you should too. Go watch the movie. It's out there. You can find it. It will not only improve your life, but improve listening to this stupid, shitty podcast. You'll actually have context now to all the other stuff we say about it. Woo!
Change your day by watching Zeiram 2. You'll be a different person.
They could have named it Zeiram 2 Electric Boogaloo, and I'm not saying it would make it any better or any worse, but
or Zeiram 2 Lost in New York.
Yeah, Zeiram 2, 2 Zeirams. Come on.
2 Rams.
Zeiram 2, the Zeiramining. Zeiram 2, End of Zeiram. Come on, there's like a million different.
Zeiram 2 Attack of the Clones.
Zeiram 2, Zeiram Strikes Back.
Zeiram 2 The Wrath of Zai.
Zeiram 2, Return of Ram.
Zeiram Into Darkness.
All right. Quit fooling around. Let's get into the Zeiram 2.
Sweet.
Before we say anything, I just want to go ahead and make it very, very clear, of all the episodes of See For Yourself that we've ever done, this might be the most important one for you to just stop yourself right now. If you're one of those people that doesn't watch the movie and just listens to us yak about it, stop. Go watch the movie. This is the one. And I'm not saying that because I think that this movie is highly susceptible to spoilers or anything like that. I don't really have a good concept for spoilers. If you tell me exactly what happens in a movie, I'm still going to go see it. So I don't really get that whole thing. It's just do this. Don't do it for yourself. Do it for me. Do it for good old See For Yourself himself. What was my name for this one? It's more trouble than I'm worth. Do it for more trouble than I'm worth.
Yeah, do it for trouble, guys.
Yeah. With that said, and hopefully everybody took the time to go and now watch the movie, pause the podcast, go watch the movie, come back.
We'll give you 5 whole seconds. Good job. I'm so grateful for you. Wow.
You did it, champ. You did it.
Totally watched it.
High fives all around.
Yeah. Slap.
Fuck yeah. Everybody did it. You know what? LD, again, this time, go ahead and put it in order for Biggest Cock in the World award. We're going to go ahead and ship it out in the mail to you for going and watching the movie. You've earned it, buddy. You've earned it.
Yeah. I don't remember if the first one was as ridiculous as this one, but this one was pretty ridiculous, and I still loved it.
I feel like I should be as transparent as possible here. My judgments for this film are not fair. I realize as I'm watching this movie that I love it more than I really should.
Yeah.
It is by no means a perfect film, but in my heart, it is absolutely a perfect film. I would change nothing about this.
What more could you want? What more could you want?
It's everything I want. Okay, let's just dive into the actual specifics here, because I know that that's a thing. Do you remember Kamiya, kind of right at the beginning of the movie? Kamiya's at the camera stand, and he's looking at different cameras, and they make that joke about the guy's like, all right, but don't, refuse to read the manual and then tell me it's broken when you just don't understand.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That joke's hilarious. Very, very funny.
Yeah.
But then for no fucking reason, like out of nowhere, he's just like looking at a lady walking down the street, and he like focuses in on her feet.
Well, he's checking out those gams. He's like, yep, there's nothing wrong with that.
And he notices the feet, and he zooms in on him, and he asks,
oh, that's right, because he's trying to get
well, we don't know that at the time. We just think he's a pervert.
Yeah, that's initially what I thought too, because it's like from the thigh on down, and so I'm like, okay, sir, but he's trying to figure out what to get
his wife.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out what to get his wife, and he doesn't know his wife's size, but he knows that his friend, his fiance, has the same size shoe. So it's like, what's your fiance's size? Because I can't be bothered to learn.
Tepe is his friend.
Yeah. Tepe is about to get married, and neither one of them know their spouse's shoe size.
Very true to real life.
I don't even know mine, man. I gotta look every time.
But in that scene where like we're just supposed to think that Kamiya is like a pervert who's into feet, I guess because of a lot of this explanation, this metaphor doesn't work very well. But that's how I feel about this movie. The way he feels about feet, or the way we're supposed to think he feels about feet, that's the way I feel about this movie. There's a perfectly beautiful woman on top of those feet. He ain't looking at that. He's looking at the feet. There's a perfectly better film out there I could be watching. I don't care about that. I want to watch this movie again.
This movie is shoes, is what we're saying. Yeah, Zeiram 2, the shoes. It's basically like all like the sci-fi PlayStation 1 video games, special effects, monster effects stuff that I feel like any teenager is obsessed with.
Well, you brought it up before we started the film, the Rita Repulsa Power Rangers thing. This is very Power Rangers.
Oh my God. Go Power Rangers indeed.
Yeah, it's that same kind of style, the sparks flying out of the guy whenever the sword hits him.
Yeah, the karate fights, someone deflects a missile and it like hits the building behind her. I fucking love that whole shot. I was like, yes.
We kind of jumped the gun here. The opening scene shows it is either a robot.
It looks like the Mars rover.
I think it's supposed to be the Zeiram robot.
Oh, okay. So this is like, so the Zeiram, like the robot, there's the robot and there's the Zeiram inside it.
Yes.
And like the robot itself is supposed to be like backup. You've got all these bounty hunters and this robot is like around to sort of help them out. And it looks like a Mars rover. It looks pretty low grade. But you can see it from this POV, the whole determining threats and stuff.
Yeah, so the Mars rover thing, I think that was supposed to be part of the like mercenary guys that it's gunning down's equipment. He's like a separate, because we don't get to see the cyborg that the Zeiram takes over in this scene. You kind of see like the outline of him or the like shadow of him or something like that. You get to see like his hand in one bit.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're right.
It's all done from his POV or like just over his shoulder, basically, which is super cool way of establishing like, oh, hey, there's a mysterious character that's killing all these guys that are also mysterious and we don't understand them, but they're kind of just like the gray putty goon guys,
Yeah, and they've got this weird like vibrating alien speak.
Oh, I thought that was so cool. I loved that because they could have just had no lines. They could have just had it in a different language like German or something that people are less likely to know,
or just like beeps. Like it just beeped it, or
they could have had anything. And they came up with this like this funky kind of like kind of noises. It's so cool. That opening scene is so high effort. It shows us all these cool gadgets it has. It shows us like it implies the look of the cyborg.
There's moments when it's going down like a menu screen, and it very much feels like an old star RPG where you're like switching to different weapons.
Yeah, like it goes down the menu and selects one, and then that drops another menu down, and then it selects one out of that menu. So cool.
Feels very video game like environment, and it sets in mind, since the majority of this film is on Earth, it sets you in mind that like this is coming from space, and now we're gonna go to like the battlefield, which is on Earth.
That just such high momentum, so cool, so interesting. And then it goes to like Kamiya trying to buy this like video camera or whatever. It loses a little momentum, but it's still funny and like,
hey, we got our shop front.
Yeah, I don't know. I still liked it. It didn't lose a lot for me, but basically then they go into this fight with these three mercenary characters or alien guys, or whatever they are.
They're total like Mortal Kombat villains. Like it's almost like you can see them being selected from like the enemy screen. Ping, ping, ping. And they got like collars up to like the nose, and they're like custom weapons. It's I love it.
The amount of effort put into the costumes and stuff in this, just over the top, man. Just so cool.
And none of the weapons are like actual weapons. They're like versions of one. So you see like a version of a crossbow, you see like a version of like an old style like pistol and a shotgun, but they all have like some type of modification to make it more alien like. And I think at one point Zeiram actually grabs someone's gun and it sort of like zombifies out. It goes from a normal gun to like all just sort of like part of his arm.
Yeah, it does that with that the pole at the end too. Like it goes from being just like a regular piece of like metal rebar or something that he found, and then it becomes this cool like halberd or spear kind of thing, with like a hook at the end. It's really cool.
It's very creative, very creative.
We get the fight between those guys, and that's pretty cool. It's a fun little fight. It's got that like very Power Rangers. This is the part before we fight the monster. We get to do some actual kung fu kind of thing. And then every part after that, until the best shot in cinema history, the momentum just drops to the floor, which is sad, but it's reasonable because it sort of builds up the character. And it's not as bad as I remember. I just remember thinking like she gets to the shrine or whatever that they're going to.
Yeah, like called the cannon tower, the cannon statue.
Yeah. And they've got the dog that shows up, and I'm like, that's cute that there's a dog, and that like humanizes the character a little bit more to have the dog around, and it's, that's nice. But it's still kind of boring, and we're just kind of waiting for something to happen. This is sort of a dull moment in the script, and then the bad guys show up out of nowhere and they're like, haha, we gotcha.
Yeah.
I want to point out really quick just how it must have been an incredibly difficult ask for Fujikuro to basically play either Teppei or Kamiya's character, but like it has to be different. He fills the same niche as Kamiya and Teppei effectively, where it's like you're supposed to be like a lovable goon, but the bad guy version of a lovable goon. I don't know if they like told him that's what he had to do, or if that's how he interpreted the character, or like what's going on here. But like he's like the devilish goon character, you know, the backstabbing goon, dialed up to 11 because he really did have to separate himself from Kamiya and Teppei. And without Fujikuro, Teppei and Kamiya seem ridiculous. But because we spend so much time early on with Fujikuro, they seem like much more relatable characters. At least for me as a person who doesn't know these characters, my first time witnessing them, they seem a lot more toned down, even though they're kind of acting over the top because Fujikuro is to the moon. You know, he's insane acting, you know?
Yeah, he's clearly there to be like that desperate criminal that you can't like take your eyes off him because he's going to like steal the shirt off your back.
God, I love the scene where he realizes there's like a force field in place or whatever. He's just pantomiming it, you know, like and the Foley artist or whoever did a great job with the sound effect whenever he like knocks on the thing and it makes the wooden knocking sound. It's very funny. I loved his acting in that bit.
That was like the first time I'd ever like heard like a force field sound like wood. It's almost always like some kind of electronic, you know, or some kind of like a bouncy sound, like zoom or something. Feel like we gotta warn people there is a dog death in this movie. It inexplicably a dog finds Iria and like runs over to like get next to her, and then later on when the robot turns into Zeiram and he's all like crazy, he like fully submerges the little snake creature into its body and later on spawns like this devil dog creature, which I guess is like, I don't know, maybe like fuse his DNA or something.
I think that the dog, in its initial scene where it just walks up to Iria and sort of says hello to her and she sort of pets it and it's like a nice little heartwarming moment, that is great world building. It makes it feel like a real place where people live and there are stray dogs who just walk up and greet you and they're nice and friendly because they're expecting you to hand them some food or something. And I think that to have the dog die, at least for me, I don't love a dog die scene. It's not my favorite and a lot of people really, really hate them. And I get that. But for me, I think that it does a really good job of letting us know not only is this like a cyborg gone like haywire, you know, it's not just like an unfeeling creature that's just oh no, there's a malfunction, we got to fix it. It is like an ethical threat as well. Like it is not just what a harmless mistake this is. It's evil.
I mean, it becomes irredeemable at that moment. Whatever happens, we have to make sure this thing gets put down so no more doggies die. Besides the dog, there are no casualties with the exception of like the more Power Ranger bad guys that show up later on. what we call her from Repulsa, like
Rita Repulsa.
yeah. So when Rita Repulsa is coming back for like the second round, he's like, it's not just three of us this time, and he calls down like 50 like Mad Max villains, all of them with like their different look.
The best scene in cinema history for me. I'm not here to adjudicate on like objectivity. It's just how I feel. Oh my god, so perfect. Everything, every single shot with all those different goons and these crazy costumes, these crazy design props and everything. Oh, chef's kiss. Mwah, 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 mwah.
It looks like one of them's holding a baby at one point. Like it was blink and you miss it. I don't know what was going on, but like
there was one that's just like a guy in a gas mask with like a mace, like he's got like a flail. What the fuck?
That's why I said like gave me like real big Mad Max vibes. And what does Iria do? She Mary Poppins the fuck away.
I loved everything about the scene was made for me because she's like, hey, things are getting kind of bad, Bob. Also, the name of her like guy in the chair is just Bob. I love that.
Yeah, and it's a computer.
Yeah, everybody else has like a kind of a sci-fi name, but Bob is just Bob.
Yeah, we got pretty much like your traditional Japanese names. I don't think Bob was translated. I think it's literally just supposed to be the computer name Bob. You know, it works.
I think it might also be like an acronym or something.
Oh, for sure. Like we didn't see it on there, but when I heard her call like the computer Bob, I'm like, let me guess, B period O period B period. Got it.
Yeah. But so she like calls up Bob and she's like, things are pretty bad. Get me out of here. And he's like unable to contact her back because you know he's damaged at the time.
Oh yeah, Fujikuro. Like the moment she zooms away, he's like, oh, she's gone. Treasure's here. Oh, I'm gonna blast this transporter.
I love that. I love villains who don't like take the time to think, well, I should check and make sure the treasure's really here before I go blasting anything, you know? Before I go fully explaining my plan to the sidekick character.
Yeah, yeah.
After the cyborg comes down and gives her assistance, we don't know why the cyborg does this, by the way, because at the time Bob doesn't say like, oh, the cyborg's a threat right now. It seems like Bob believes at that time the cyborg is not a threat, and then once she goes her separate ways from the cyborg to like go investigate something or to check out the Tepe situation, he's like, oh, look out, the cyborg is a threat.
So here's the way I saw it. She's surrounded by like 50 of these Power Ranger villains. It's clear that she's not going to make it. She's probably going to die. And so Bob's like, well, emergency is emergency. I'm sending you your backup. The backup comes down, does his absolute worst, which means not just beating these guys up, but fully murdering all of them. And she's like, that's too far. And she punches him in the chest. And there's like this little thing, like this little, I don't know, you get to see how he's built in the opening credits. And there's like these metal thing in the middle of the chest, which is covering a face. And she breaks that when she punches him as like retribution. And then later on, the Rita Repulsa guy, he's like going to stab him, and he vomits like a delayed reaction death, thing.
Like in the samurai movies.
Yeah, like he was dead. He didn't know it. He spits blood right when he's about to land a killing blow. And at that point, the blood covers the guy's chest, including like this uncovered, like little alien face. And I feel like that face laps up that blood, and then bam, Dracula's reborn inside this robot.
Yeah, I like the mystery of it. I like not knowing. I think that's a perfectly great way to tell this type of character, this type of story. But it does leave some degree of like, yeah, it just seems to sort of happen. And yes, there are those shots that sort of explain that visually, but we don't really know. Like, I guess maybe that's explained in the first movie, what the Zeyrams are. I don't know.
I don't remember much about it. I do remember that Eerie was there and that she had some human sidekicks, and I'm assuming that these two are the human sidekicks. Basically, wherever she goes, crazy shit happens, and then some people, I guess, are like get wrapped up into it, and she mostly ends up spending the time keeping them from dying.
But I did really, really love that she was upset that the cyborg killed all of those people. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to include like hey, that was too far. You didn't need to slaughter these people. She specifically says that's mass murder. And you don't get that kind of accountability in scenes like this ever.
Well, like the villain she fights, including Fujikuro, who's like constantly betraying her, leaving her for dead, leaving her friends for dead. Her idea of justice is stopping him and then like also saving his life. In the end, she's not the one that like captures him. It's Bob who does that, and only because like he's threatened like this whole planet like several times at this point. But yeah, like justice for Iria is not like straight up murder. All the bad guys she fights, they're lying down, passed out, I assume.
Yeah, and I appreciate that kind of tact in creating a hero, because out of all the heroes we've seen on See for Yourself, I think Iria is the most heroic, which is weird because she's not a terribly likable hero. She is like the Clint Eastwood of heroes that we've gotten. She's that stone face,
almost good-natured to a fault. Like, there's some stuff that happens around her where it's like, man, you don't have to be nice to this guy.
Oh, I think that's what happens when you go too far into the like lawful good alignment chart, right? Like you're just so good that you're like, I mean, he tried to steal from me, but theft is really a problem of the times that we live in and not a moral failing of the individual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no murder for property in this space heroine.
She's like, I'm not going to punish him because he's on hard times. That's not fair. Wow, what a enlightened way of looking at that area. Way to go on arriving to that conclusion. I admire that. It's good to have heroes that have different opinions on these things, and it's good to see someone who's like radically on the forgiving side of this,
And on the topic of heroes, I wouldn't call Tepe or Kamiya heroes, but Kamiya has his own little moment towards the end.
Yes, it's so good.
He's called in because Tepe has got his foot on like a mine, and Iria has got like her hand through a hole holding like this missile while like a trash compactor is about to get her. And they're like, Kamiya, you're the only person who can save us. And he shows up after doing this dramatic suit up thing like Iron Man, which includes him pulling his socks up, pulling his zipper up, and like flashing like a lucky good luck charm.
I just want to point out what a great description. But they don't ask Kamiya to come and help. He takes it upon himself, and Bob says, this isn't your problem. We'll figure it out. And Kamiya's like, no, come on, just tell me what I need to do, and I'll go do it.
You're right. Yeah.
Kamiya is like a blue collar working regular guy who is willing to put in the work.
Yeah, Kamiya really steps up.
And I think that that's shown in his like big hero moment, because he really is. He's in the electronics store uniform, you know, from the car. It had the like Takahashi's Electronics, and he's got the uniform on just like Teppei has on. He shows up, you know, with his gear and everything. He looks like a Ghostbuster. He's a working class man who knows what he needs to do. And I love that everything falls apart once like one thing goes wrong. Oh no, the canister opened up and the missile got out, the little Hornet missile thing. Fucking book it, cheese it, run!
A lot of this movie is, oh, we think we got him, everything's fine. But I kept looking at the time. I'm like, it's been 40 minutes. Nah. Like, something's about to go wrong, because you've got like this robot which then is like possessed by like this alien, this I guess component, and then after like Iria like stabs it through the head, it sort of like wriggles out of his body and like bites the sword and pulls it out.
Oh,
like
God.
And it's got this weird sort of dragon snake with sort of like a, what would you call that voice? It sounds like a baby sometimes. It sounds like a horse. Like,
it's like a screeching kind of sound, but it also sounds like almost like an innocent noise that's also very animalistic.
God, it's creepy. It's super creepy.
Absolutely. I loved that about it. I wish every time we got a close-up of the little head, the Zeiram, I'm just going to call it a Zeiram. I'm assuming that's, they called it that a couple times. Every time we got a close-up of it, those were precious moments for me. It's just so creepy and so scary to look at, and I wanted more of that. I wanted, because the cyborg doesn't really have a facial expression until it gets like half blown up, and then it has a little bit more of a facial identity because it's like bleeding out of half of its face, and that's like, we feel empathetic towards that, or at least I do. I'm like, oh, this thing's bleeding. It's like a person, basically. It could have been motor oil for all I know, but like it looked like blood, so I'm like, oh, it's really hurt.
It's got like the full bat suit on, in that everything's a gadget. Everything on his body either like shoots out or protrudes or like morphs into something. It's got bat wings. It has full on like veiny, like a bat wings with like a rocket underneath. Oh my God.
The one aspect of the design I didn't like was that I love how it's kind of like a PlayStation final boss, where it's like, oh, the boss is impervious to all of my attacks. What do I do? Oh, it's got these big yellow orbs on its body. Maybe I should shoot those. Yep, you figured out our boss design here. The one part of its body that's like a different color is the part that you should be aiming for. Ha ha ha.
It has to have some kind of weakness, because this thing is ridiculous.
I think it's intuitive to like make it that way. It makes it easy for the audience to be like, okay, I get it. That's the weak point. I get it. That's not the problem I have. My problem is there's specifically like two of the weak points. It's like in like a triangle pattern basically, but they're like spheres at the end of the triangles, like edges. Two of them are like specifically in the nipple area.
Yeah, at one point it shoots into somebody to push them off. It's like, my erect nipples repel you.
Yeah, that's the issue I have. If they had just left them on the nipple area, that's fine. Makes sense. But the fact that they push outward on people, and it's like, they push with force too. They're not just like, get away from, I can do a push-up with my nipples. Like, that's not, I can crush a fucking... I could crush someone's skull with these things.
You could drive nails into a wall with these nipples.
Yeah. Holy shit. And honestly, I don't even, like, that's the thing. Any criticism I have of this film, recognize that what I mean is, I noticed that, it was a little odd, and I loved it.
Yeah. So like this weird baby face dragon neck thing, at one point it spits up what looks like a snail shell, and that's like the dog DNA, and it like ultra grows into this. When we were talking about Aaahh monsters, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is their Aaahh monster. And it's fully like this dog face meat monster thing that looks so gross and really only shows up at the very end to terrorize our humans and then get kicked off the tower.
It's one of those things where I think so much of the budget went into making the cyborg look cool. It looks cool. Mission accomplished. It looks fucking great. It's flying through the air on bat wings. That should look dumb as hell, but it looks pretty cool. So money well spent is what I'm saying here. I think that they were like, all right, we can get this dog suit in. It's not going to look as good or as cool as the cyborg, but we do want like if we can fit another one in, you know? And it was kind of like all of the 50 dudes who showed up and they're all like Power Rangers villains, kind of like that, where they wanted to have it in there, but not for too long, because we don't really have the money to like really have it in the movie for a long period of time, And I think that's what it was. They wanted to have it. They wanted to bring the dog back, and they did. And I think it's cool. I think it's a cute little thing where it's like, oh, the alien can strike out. Like, that was the cool thing about having the Zeiram kill the dog, was that we'd never seen the Zeiram do anything other than look sinister at that point. So to see it jump out like that is genuinely shocking. My jaw dropped. I was like, what? He can do that?
That was the first moment where I was like, I am terrified of this thing. There's an awesome scene where Iria, she's getting hit with like all these missiles, and she roundhouse kicks this missile, and you can fully see it heading toward like the building behind her, and it explodes. And of course, like a baller, she does not turn around. It's perfect. Oh my god.
There's so many good little moments like that. The movie doesn't waste any time. Like, God, Iria's like falling because they had the cool moment. We should have predicted this. This is like an easy prediction. The cyborg grabs onto her leg as she's falling off of a ledge, and like, oh no. So she lets go and starts falling with it. As she's about to hit the ground, she just does like a Sailor Moon transformation back to her regular clothes from like her combat suit.
Oh yeah.
As she does it, she slowly, gracefully descends to the ground. In my head, like as I'm explaining it out loud, I'm like, this sounds kind of stupid. But when you're watching the movie, you're like, yes, that is exactly how that works. Makes perfect sense. Go on, Queen.
Yeah, she's got like this power suit, which like she's got her own like ninja skills and sort of like adds to it. At one point, like they're powered down, and that's when she needs help, but I guess later on she gets her power back.
Let's just talk about, like, I think she has 4 costumes in the movie, which is a very conservative number for a woman lead, right? Like, a lot of times when we have a woman leading a film, it's, oh, and we're going to dress her up like a Barbie in 19 different costumes for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, she's got like her regular crime fighter wear, and she has her combat, which is like what we see in the poster, and then she's got like the tank top look for when, like, last person standing.
She also has that black, like, kind of leather thing. She transforms into it immediately after the Sailor Moon thing. I think that's still like her mission outfit, but it's like the powered down version of it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I love her like original getup, the like big red like cloak thing that she's wearing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well, like when she's introduced, like lightning shoots down, and it's very Mortal Kombat, like very like Big Trouble in Little China, and she descends, and the Rita Repulsa is like, thinking, I can sell this black market technology to you, and it's like, nope, it's space cops, you're arrested.
I think they do call her an investigator at one point, which is an interesting way to describe someone who's basically like the Punisher, right? Like
yeah.
She's investigating, I guess.
She's here to confiscate this thing, the karma right. And you get the idea from Fuji that, we could just sell this on the black market and we'd be rich and we never have to work a day in our lives. Like, yeah, but then you'd be a fugitive for the rest of your life. So she's definitely on the side of the law because she's a bounty hunter. She's not like official police. She's doing this as a job.
I love her character and the way that it's handled, and I love those aspects of her where she's like, I'm a law-abiding person. I'm going to fight these people to get this like rare item off of them that they're not supposed to have. And I'm going to advise Fuji not to break the law because he'll be a fugitive, which like fugitive, I don't know, kind of funny.
Yeah.
But she also is really like forgiving of Fuji, it feels like. I don't know why. In my head, I'm like, yeah, she just kind of lets that guy off the hook a lot.
I think it's just because she's not a cop. Like, she's literally there just for this one thing. And at the end of the day, if everyone's alive, cool. She's not intending on bringing him in. The only reason he gets, arrested in space jail by Bob is because, like, at this point, he's putting all these lives at risk because he keeps trying to go after it.
And it has nothing to do with what Iria wants. Like, she doesn't tell Bob to lock him up. He just does it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is Bob being like, okay, you are making it really hard for us to complete this mission, sir.
I did like how Bob, he's just like a computer robot guy, right? Like, he doesn't even have a robot body. He's just a computer program. And he still has kind of something of a personality. They could have done more with it, I think. And I would like that. I would like more personality from Bob. But it was more than it really should have been in most cases.
He's no Data. He's clearly like, he's the computer with a personality. It's like, it's good to see you guys. Like Tepe and Kamiya also apparently know him from like the previous movie. And it's like, hey, I missed you, like.
Remember when he cries out to Kamiya, like Fuji like had shot him up, and Kamiya comes across like Bob's dying computer system ? And he says, Kamiya, and I'm like, oh damn, Bob, I feel for you, my guy. Like,
yeah.
You're struggling out here.
You know what? It was a really smart thing to have like electromechanic there as part of this crack team of bounty hunters. Like Kamiya, he comes through in a clutch. I'm not sure what Tepe is supposed to be other than like this innocent. He's just there to run after. Oh, because he's like at some shop looking for a wedding gift or something. He spots Iria across the street, bolts out of there, and goes running.
I've got to go buy cigarettes.
Yeah, I've got to go buy some cigarettes.
I loved that they have just a purely platonic friendship between the three of them.
Yeah, like there's no point at which I'm like worried that they're gonna make this awkward. That's gonna be like some weird hitting on you thing.
I was worried at one point.
It's just with Fuji, I feel like.
No, it was a scene between Kamiya, Tepe, and Iria. They had just captured the little missile hornet thing. She's like, okay, I got out. I'm fine. I'm gonna go over to the other side. You guys meet me there or whatever. And Kamiya's like, wait, come back. Can you still put your hand through? And she's like, yeah. For like 1 second, I thought he was gonna like reach down and kiss her hand or something like that.
There was that tension there.
He just throws that good luck charm. He's like, I brought this good luck charm for you. And then they throw their hands on top of each other. Oh,
So
again,
fucking
chef's
wholesome.
kiss. So
Like
good.
holy shit, this is something you could actually show for kids in the Power Rangers slot, Like
Mhm.
yeah, this is a fun for all ages movie. I really appreciate that.
And then they ended the climax on that shot. Oh, we got to teleport out of here before the bad CGI eats us alive. And I love, again, it's bad CGI, but I love it.
I love like when the tower is getting eaten from like the bottom by like the zone. I
Yeah.
love that. Like
So good.
this is the only kind of like CGI I want to see for something this like cyber,
But they do. They end that. They sort of put the pin in the ending of this on that same sort of like my hand over his hand over mine. That like
Oh yeah.
it's like they make a Y basically with their hands on top of each other's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
They make a
it's
flux
beautiful.
capacitor.
Yeah.
And when they escape from like the zone, Bob is like, "Oh no, I've only got one more power circuit left, and I don't know which one it's going to go to. You two have to make the choice. Is it going to be Iria or is it going to be Zeiram? There's no clear way of knowing."
There's a lot of times in movies where they kind of just try to like get a couple more minutes of screen time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, you fucking just call it a day here, guys.
This is another.
This is not one of those. No, this is a perfect addition to the film. It gives every character that we've grown attached to over the course of this film something really big to do.
Yeah, some agency. Yeah, because up until this point, I don't feel like Tepe's done much. Kamiya had his like one hero moment, but this gives them both a chance to pay back Iria for saving their asses over and over again.
It's like the best version of the trolley problem that I've ever seen someone come up with, like a variation for the trolley problem. This is like the ultimate trolley problem, really.
Right. Which lever? I don't know. And I still don't know how they decided which one was the right one, but they both have that instinct. And Bob's like, yeah, she always said humans have amazing instincts. I'm leaving this choice to you because I'm just a computer.
As an audience in these kinds of situations, it's very easy to be like, okay, but they're going to pick the right one. There's no way they're going to end on.
Sure.
But they don't. Like they pick the right one, and Bob is like, you picked the right one, and it's like, yep, I'm rolling my eyes preemptively because like,
but Zeiram still shows up.
Yes.
Zeiram's still like, I don't give a fuck. I'm still coming through.
What a spooky scene too. So good. This is where all the CGI budget went. It went right into this scene.
They put everything they thought they could possibly put into this one little image of like the snakes and the dragons and the dogs and the robot face, just all swirling and shit.
Yeah, it looks great.
There are some great comedy moments in this movie. When they're out of breath from running all the way to this tower, it's like, yeah, we just gotta get to the top, 33 floors. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Tepe's like, well, you're still very healthy for a 55-year-old guy.
Oh my god. Yeah. It's like, what?
I'm not a day over 30.
Oh my god.
All of the like one-on-ones between Tepe and Kamiya are some of the best like wholesome friend moments ever written.
Yeah, and Iria has like just the best timing. It's like, you guys certainly are having fun. It's like, yeah. And the solid 10 minutes of them laughing after it's all over, just you feel that relief. You're there with them feeling that relief of, I can't believe we survived that. That was stupid. Holy shit, we're alive.
I like the physical acting in those moments. Teppei is like falling over the ledge. It's not a ledge. It's like a railing. He's like sort of like leaning over against it because he's that tired. The other guy's like sort of crouching a little bit, slapping his knees with his hands and like just laughing because it's all they've got. I think either it was the makeup people or what, I don't know. But Teppei kind of looks like he's crying and laughing, where Kamiya kind of more looks like he's just laughing. And I think it works for their characters. Like Teppei seems like the more sensitive type, and Kamiya seems like the I'd never let someone see me cry type.
It's great because they have this very real down to earthness. This is their second big adventure of their lives. We're just watching part 2, but in the first one they have their own other adventure. It's sort of like a Doctor Who thing where like Iria is clearly the superhero and they're there along for the ride, but they also have these critical moments where it's important that they're at that moment, otherwise everything falls apart. But you still see them. They're just everyday guys. Like, I can't believe we made it through this. I'm getting married tomorrow. They have that whole thing where like he's talking about who he's going to see his son's recital.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, your wife forgave you? It's like, well, she's not quite there yet, but we're getting close. So much history,
This big data dump of history all at once, but it feels really good. Like he's like, I was going to tell you this after this whole thing, but the real reason is I've got a piano recital to go to, and my wife actually invited me, so hopefully things will work out,
Oh, it's their anniversary. Yeah, it's their anniversary, and so they.
Oh, how heartwarming is that too? Like, actually, you're getting married on the same day I got married years ago.
Next year we can celebrate together.
This movie does a great job of setting stakes. We know that the cyborg is very dangerous because it just killed like 50 of these guys and like had no problem with it whatsoever. So when the fight breaks out between Iria and the cyborg, we're like, this is serious. And the same thing is true for that final fight scene. The stakes are set. Not only do we know that the cyborg is dangerous, but now we know Kamiya and Teppei, they're not only good friends, but they've got plans with each other in the future. If anything goes wrong in this fight, we won't get to see the cool scene where next year they're celebrating anniversaries together. So it's a lot. It adds to the tension in a really meaningful way.
If you looked at the beginning of this movie with like the PlayStation 1 3D modeling design of the robot, all the pieces coming together, it looks so much like, oh, this is going to be just a brainless sort of video game action sci-fi / joint. But I felt connected to these characters, even though it was such a small cast.
Great emotional investment. And it feels like realistic dialogue. We watched the English dubbing for it. I'm sure the Japanese dub does a great job, and then the English subtitles are probably even better than the English dubbing. Usually in English dubbing, it's kind of hard to connect with the characters, like the translation issues, and then the performance doesn't exactly match up with what's being said. I didn't feel any of that. I felt so invested the entire time. The dialogue was so realistic. It felt very well performed by the English voice actors. I'm probably going to go and rewatch this movie, maybe even this week, with the Japanese dub and the English sub. It's just that good. It really is a powerful film, and it's so much fun the whole time too.
It was also just a relief just to have something that felt less, grody. Like there were several moments where I was like, oh man, there's not going to be any like weirdness going on.
In Japanese films, we do get a lot of that, huh?
This was very PG, and I feel like it was intended to be something that you could take your kids to. It was at least something that I feel like was probably marketed along with all these cool. I assume there have to be action figures for this movie. There are too many cool designs not to have your own Zeiram action figure or your own Iria action figure. Even like Fujikuro and like the Power Ranger villains.
You know that Kamiya and Teppei come in like a dual pack where you get both of the figures in one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kamiya's got like a little toolbox, and and I don't know what Teppei's holding. Teppei is probably.
I would love it if it's just the figures are straight up from the damsel in distress scene where Teppei is like tied up like that, and then it's Kamiya like showing up in that cool stance, and he's got his Gatling gun, and he's got the container with the little hornet bug missile thing, and he just looks super victorious. And then you take him out, and you can kind of like stage him around and stuff. I don't know if parents would feel the same way about it, because it kind of looks like it's a dude saving another dude, which it was, and that's the beauty of the scene, is the damsel in distress is Teppei. Yeah.
Yeah. I was 94, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know how like this movie came out and it didn't just become the standard from now on. We have girls are the heroes, the guys are these kind of bumbling idiots who like find a way to make it through but are ultimately saved by the girl. They have this like loving friendship that like helps them get through tough times and reconnect, at the end, even if at the beginning it seemed like one guy was kind of being a rude dude. He was actually thinking about his own problems, and that's not a bad thing. It's okay to have your own stuff you got to focus on. Some things get put to the wayside because of that. It's not because you don't want to be there for your friend on his wedding day. It's because you'd like to fix your own marriage.
Yeah. I wanted to like look up what all is in this franchise. So there is an OVA, 6 episodes. Holy shit.
Came out the same year as the movie, so it came out in 94, and it was released, I think, after the film is when it was released, which is hard to say exactly like which came first, the chicken or the egg. I think it's film and then OVA.
Trying to see if there was the same production company, but I think they were separate because we've got just Zeiram Production Committee. Okay, so it was made for the film, like so many other films. And then Ashi Productions did the OVA.
Apparently the first film had like mixed reviews, which I haven't seen the first film, so I don't know if it's as wonderful as this movie is, because there's so many things about this movie that push it just over the top. The beautiful friendships between all the characters, the wacky over the top acting of like one guy to sort of highlight how these other guys aren't acting all that wacky. There's so many little things that just take it to the moon. So I don't know if the first film had all those little things, but I feel like if this movie came out and any critical critique was written on it, or I feel like they would have to admit, while this isn't, I don't know, like a AAA blockbuster type situation here, the total is worth more than the sum of the parts, you know, like it has so much good synergy and so many big cool moments.
Yeah, and it looks like the director for Zeiram and Zeiram 2 also did the Kamen Rider films.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, he's just fully versed in like special effects and like superhero type fare.
Kamen Rider is a huge, that's gigantic to get to direct a Kamen Rider film.
Yeah, and it looks like he's done 2 of them.
I think I saw somewhere that the first Zeiram movie was his second film he'd ever done.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, that looks correct. I haven't seen a lot of these movies, just Zeiram and now Zeiram 2, but I definitely want to see more of his stuff. I kind of want to see more from these actors too, because they all seem like really in touch with their characters. Like even the guy who's playing Fujikuro, he walks that thin line between like, you know, lovable scamp and really dangerous maniac. But I'm definitely watching that OVA this week. And it looks like it looks like in the anime, there's Iria, there's Bob, there's Fujikuro, and there's Zeiram. Both of the human characters are not in that. But it's supposed to be like a prequel, so that would make sense.
Hopefully it'll explain a little bit more just how alien Iria is, because I feel like it's implied that she's like not exactly human by the acting performance she's giving. She's been around humans enough to know how to act around them. She's still very, again, that like stone-faced, quiet rage sort of thing going on. I don't know exactly. I wish I knew more about the character, I guess is what I'm getting at here. And I look forward to consuming more of this. I hate watching movies like this because working on these scripts, I'm working on filming these movies, I'm trying to get stuff made, and I'm never going to make something like this on the $50 budget all of my films have. And, you know, there's just too many cool things I want to do that this movie did. I can't. I'll never have enough money.
Movies like this and like The Evil Dead that feel kind of like bare bones budget, even though they had really cool special effects, like the setting, I mean, the limited number of like characters they had, it felt very like a small house production. And I love seeing those, especially when they turn out really well.
And I think the main thing that pushes it over the top really is the writing. Certainly the acting is very good too. I think that there's a lot of great performances in here, but the writing is just really, really good. Selling those wholesome moments takes a good writer. And I think, I don't know, man, I am envious.
You know what? We didn't really talk about our expectations and our predictions much.
Yeah, that's okay. Fuck those things.
I mean, I said there was going to be no animals. You know, my realistic was no animals, but we got like a dog. And I can't remember what else I said, but like, oh, I also said it was possible that Zeiram was going to be like supporting character, and he was, but then he was the villain.
And you kind of were close there where it's like a combination of different animals and also a lady. So not perfect, but pretty close.
Oh, and the guy in the poster, the one down, is that supposed to be Fujikuro, like the thief?
I feel like that's probably him.
Okay, and it's clear that the very bottom row, that's like all the Power Ranger villains that like zoom down.
Yeah, and then in the very bottom left, they've got the cyborg itself with the hat on.
Oh, that's right, the cool little spinny hat that like when they blow him up, he just like shoots that spinny hat at them.
I love that kick she does for the hat. Whew, that was clean.
She's got some good martial arts skills. It was they really brought a lot into this movie. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, Yuko is a stellar actress. I'll probably be on the lookout for more movies starring her.
I need to see if I know any of these actors from anything. It's far enough back that I feel like they probably reused like a lot of the same actors and like the best of. Okay, she was in Sweet Home. It's a pretty decent horror movie. Oh, it was the TV version. Okay, I haven't seen that one. Let's see.
Oh no, it doesn't really seem like she's been in a ton of stuff.
For Kamiya, it looks like he was in one of the one of the Gamera movies. Gamera Guardian of the Universe. Haven't seen that one though. And then Teppei. No, I gotta work on my 90s Japanese cinema.
I mean, that's kind of the point of why we're doing this movie is, dude, I'm telling you, 90s Japanese cinema had that drip, man. That style, that flair, something about it was just, it was right on. Like, they had it. It was perfect, down to the very last details. Perfect. These are the movies for me. They are, I don't know who, somebody sat down and said, I'm going to make movies for See For Yourself himself. He's going to love my stuff. 40 years from now, 30 years from now, however long from now, he'll be watching them and saying, oh, it's for me, it's for me.
Well, if no one has seen it, hopefully they'll join this podcast and they'll notice it and they'll be like, yeah, I'm a Zeiram fan.
So, you know, we're coming up on that time now that you're sort of preemptively signing off, I guess. Are there any last minute predictions you want to make? Or fucking shit. Are there any last minute things you want to say about the movie that we didn't really get to?
Nah, I feel like I've said everything I could possibly think about saying. I liked it. There was a lot of fighting and there was a lot of good comedy. It was an enjoyable afternoon.
I love the bit where it basically came down to Iria and the Zeiram like sort of struggling with with each other one-on-one. The cyborg has now been fully finished off. The Zeiram like lunges at Iria and she gets to sort of like grab it and wrestle around with it. I did not think we would get a scene like that because almost all the other scenes where the Zeiram does anything, it's not really interacting with any other actual actors. It's usually just like it's pulling the sword out of the cyborg's head or it's sort of spitting something up, you know, by itself. But to have its face right next to the actress's face for Yuko's face, I didn't expect that, honestly. I also didn't expect to actually get a full-on shot of its head exploding. Again, these are the things that were made for me.
There was that crazy the little ammo pouch the guy throws because she's out. Yeah,
they set it up earlier, and you know
that's right. Yeah, see that's what Teppei does. Teppei has like the ammo that he throws at the last second.
His big moment, and he also gets to kill the dog, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, he kicks him off the tower, which it has this yipe thing. I was like, oh, don't remind us, no.
They didn't want to let us forget that was the little dog we saw earlier in the film.
Oh shit. Okay, I did not know this, and now I'm freaking out. Okay, Fujikuro, the actor who plays him, his name is Sabu. He is a director. You might recognize him from Ichi the Killer.
Which guy? The guy who played Fujikuro?
Yeah, he's the cop who's like the dad.
The guy who lost his gun and got kicked off the force.
Yeah. And so he's like working for like the mafia now, and like his entire like mafia family, they're all getting killed off towards the end. And oh my god, that's him.
That guy has range.
Wow.
I recall the cop in that movie is like no nonsense. He's a very serious.
He is very serious. Yeah. Apparently, he just goes by Sabu, like one name actor.
I respect that. You know, you should be able to name yourself whatever you like.
And he was in Zeiram too.
Wow, that's really cool. But hey, we'll call it a day there, and we'll just move on to the next film, and always be looking back on Zeiram 2 and wishing every film we watch from now on could just be Zeiram 2. Why not? Why can't you just be Zeiram 2? Please just be Zeiram 2.
Thank you for having me. I'm starting to sense a pattern. First movie was a sci-fi film. Here's another sci-fi film. Don't think I only watch sci-fi films, okay?
Well, the trouble with you really is finding a film you haven't seen, and even in this one where I was certain nobody had seen this movie.
Well, I haven't seen it.
You've seen the other one is the problem.
Right.
That's the we were this close. If I had flipped the coin the other way and said, let's watch the first Zeiram, even though it's not really available on streaming right now, I would have stumbled into a film you've already seen.
I think we picked the better of the two films because of these two. I don't remember much about the first one, but this one I feel like I definitely enjoyed more.
I don't want to put this on the movie, but it feels pretty unforgettable.
Yeah.
I'm stupid enough to forget anything, but I don't know. This is kind of the top of the mountain for me in terms of a movie. Not only would I enjoy watching, but I would love to have worked on this film. I don't care what the next project would be. It would be the first thing on my reel. I would be like, yeah, you want me to work on Mrs. Doubtfire 2? Well, I'll have you know that on my resume, I have Zeiram 2. And, so yeah, I'll direct Mrs. Doubtfire 2, I guess. I'll lower myself to this level. I would slap this around town all day. Tell everybody I know I wrote. I'd put it on my gravestone. Here lies, see for yourself himself. We worked on Zeiram 2.
Yeah, that's gonna be the larger lettering on the tombstone. Underneath it is your name. This guy worked on it.
Smallest letters, yeah. But like the big thing, Zeiram 2, and it's just constantly playing. Like,
oh my god, you got like a little video screen playing on the loop.
I'm surprised, dog. I'm surprised we don't have headstones like that where it just shows like, God, we need to
Goals,
stop.
man.
We need to stop doing this.
Goals.
Well, that's the end of this episode. Let's Zeiram our way out of here.
Yep. Ta-ta.
Go ahead and put it in order for Biggest Cock in the World award. We're going to go ahead and ship it out in the mail to you for going and watching the movie. You've earned it, buddy. You've earned it.